There we go.
It's going, flashing, and then you just got to remember where it is. You know, think about it all the time. So if you're going to do some work,
yeah,
you know, and if you're going to talk, stand back and talk to it at a distance. Go on and see what it sounds like when you're talking to it.
What do you mean what it sounds like when I'm talking to it?
Make you know, do a voice test, see if that's set right for you.
I know where it's set right for me.
What you don't want is that, because that'll be going na-na, na-na, na-na.
Yeah.
That's, by the way, that's really important if you do come out and do this. Switch your thing to airplane mode.
Well, I've had mine in here before and it hasn't done it.
Really? Well, normally they do, but
it's because yours interferes with its signal and mine doesn't.
Okay. So, so this thing is. Sometimes happens. Go as if you were talking to the.
Talking about what?
Whatever.
Give me something to talk about.
Okay, talk about how much you love this.
No,
you don't love this. I'm not going to use that anymore, by the way. It's crap. How much you like that?
You only say it's crap.
No, seriously, it is crap. You know why? I've tried it on another one, and it always takes stuff off the top. There's no way you can put that on some frets and it doesn't take stuff off the top, because it just sits on there immediately. And that way, you know you're not taking it off the top.
Yeah.
So tell us about your Dr. Evil fret file.
I like this because I drew on it, and it's very useful for me because I can throw it at annoying things that come in the shed when I don't like them. Don't like it for the frets because it's awful and evil.
Yeah, cool. There's a cleaned up.
Yes.
Look how bright that is, mate. Yeah, so okay, good. So that's all you have to do. Then you just got to keep a watch out for two things. If that stops flashing, it's run out of batteries.
Yeah.
We won't run out of memory because we're not actually recording any. It's just feeding through. Because when you press it once, it feeds a level through. If you press it twice, it will record it to disk. You've got 30 hours on there anyway.
Yeah.
And that one, it's not easy to see, but keep out. As soon as it says full, go to the PC, dump it on the PC, come back, clean the disk, come back and start again. All right?
Yep.
Good, so now you know how to do that bit.
Yeah.
Okay. No, but just a thought before you go. If you were going to do some more, I know you're comfortable with the necks, right? Is there anything else you'd like to do as well as necks? I mean, I know you could do loads, but...
I kind of like doing the necks.
Well, I mean, there isn't much. Well, there's setting the necks, but then there's the nut slots and the bridge.
I don't like doing nut slots.
That's because you haven't done them.
No, I've done them.
But would you like to have them? No. No. Why not?
I don't like it.
Wouldn't you like to do the whole thing and earn all the profits in the world?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
What use do I have for you?
Nice.
Yeah, well, it's true. You've got to do something.
Thanks, man. Feelings mutual. To cut a long story short, I lost my mind. To accept your reward.
The DWP, the Department for Work and Pensions, is the background. In 2011, existing capacity benefit and income support claims were replaced with something called employment and support allowance. Claimants were made to undergo a work capability assessment to determine whether they were entitled to the new allowance and how much money they might get. Now, some critics complain that these assessments are stacked against claimants. Seriously ill people are being dismissed as malingers by Atos Healthcare and having their claims denied. And in the middle of this argument, up pops the truly shocking finding that 10,600 people have been cut off from this vital benefit and then died within 6 weeks. Or at least it would be shocking if it was true, but is it? Tom Chivers is the Daily Telegraph's assistant comment editor, and he detected the aroma of dodgy data.
In July 2012, there was a Freedom of Information request about how many people died within 6 weeks of their benefit claim ending. In this marvellously impenetrable response, it came back in total between January 2011 and November 2011. Some 10,600 claims ended, and the date of death was recorded within 6 weeks of the claim end.
Well, that seems that the statistic that everyone's cross about is slightly bureaucratically conveyed, but yeah, it's true. We've got Atos bang to rights.
It does. It sounds exactly like that. When ordinary humans use the English language, when they say something happened within 6 weeks or something else happened, I mean that second thing happened after the first thing, you know. But I found this whole document so impenetrable, I felt I should at least give DWP a ring and see what they were talking about. And they said, no, actually there is a rather weird, obtuse meaning of it, which they mean it was in 6 weeks either side of this thing, or there was a 6 week period either side of the death, and that was when the claim ended. Now, when you know that, suddenly makes you realise that a lot of these people would have died, and then the claim ended shortly afterwards because they were dead.
So, hang on, so what the DWP are doing here is they take a snapshot, they see a certain number of people are making a benefit claim and are alive, and then 6 weeks later they take another snapshot and they discover that these people are no longer making a benefit claim and these people are no longer alive. So do we know the truth? I mean, do we know...
The DWP says they don't keep records of the number of people who died after their benefits were cut off because that's irrelevant to them, that's no longer their problem, so we don't have the full figures. What this really comes down to, as far as I'm concerned, is just a dreadful piece of communication by the DWP. This fairly, well, not simple but not complicated piece of information has been translated into 10,000 people dying within 6 weeks of being callously removed of their benefits.
Tom Chivers from the Daily Telegraph. So 10,600 claimants didn't die 6 weeks after their claim ended. 10,600 claimants died within the same 6 week period as their claim ended. Not the same thing at all. So the moral of this story, it's always worth asking what a statistic is really counting rather than assuming we know. And when you receive an incomprehensible answer from a bureaucrat, it may be worth checking what they meant. You're listening to More or Less with me, Tim Harford. But the Justice Secretary, Chris Grayling, has been having to defend the state of prisons in England and Wales. Part of the problem, apparently, is that there are more prisoners than he expected. Here he was on the Today programme recently.
We've got challenges from an increased population that was not expected in the last 12 months. We're meeting those challenges, we're recruiting more staff, but I'm absolutely clear there is not a crisis in our prisons. There are pressures which we're facing, but there is not a crisis.
Chris Grayling there. You might have missed the almost subliminal message that there is definitely not a crisis. But why has the rise in prisoner numbers been so unexpected? Why weren't we prepared? The Justice Select Committee asked Mr Grayling to explain it to them last month.
We've got about 1,600 more people in prison than a year ago. The most obvious change has been there's been quite a big increase in the number of sex offenders coming into our prisons, mainly in historic sex abuse cases. I think it's about 700 new people in our prisons in that category. A couple who supply the detailed figures to the committee.
Clear enough. You might well believe that after the revelations of Jimmy Savile's crimes, people are more willing to come forward with reports of historic sexual abuse. You might also expect the authorities would be more likely to prosecute. And there you are, suddenly a clear explanation of why there are 700 new sex offenders in prison this year, a good chunk of the extra prison population. Does that story really make sense? There have been a lot of high-profile cases in recent months, but 700 is a big number, especially since these sex offence cases often take a long time to conclude. I thought I'd run the more or less slide rule over Mr Grayling's claims with a visiting scholar at the Institute of Criminology at Cambridge, Carol Hedman.
Chris Grayling is right to say that there are 700 more sex offenders in prison about the prison population, it's kind of helpful to think about it as a big bath, where how much water you've got in the bath depends on whether there's some in there already, and in terms of prison population, that's most of it. How fast you turn the taps on, and how firmly you've stuck the plug in. So at the moment, what we've got is a slight increase in the taps being turned on.
So 80 more sex offenders coming in than in a comparable period in the previous year.
Yeah.
Okay, so the flow rate's increased by 80.
But releases have dropped dramatically in the same year.
Plugs in